So I don't listen to EDM that much. Let's do something about that, eh? So you read the title of the video, you know what's happening. But to further elaborate, I'm doing kind of themed days, exploring specific genres, and today is Detroit techno. This is one of the parent genres of EDM, alongside Chicago house, Miami bass, industrial, cosmic music, reggae dub. There's a few of them, but for today, I am focusing on Detroit techno. Is ostensibly created by these three guys in Detroit, Juan Atkins, Derek May, and Kevin Saunderson, who bonded over their shared love of funk and disco, as well as early German and Japanese electronic music. They drew these two worlds together, and now we have techno, the first iteration of it at least. So I started off by listening to Derek May's Strings of Life. It's one of the first techno songs, and a couple of things stood out to me with it. Number one, if you actually asked me before knowing the genre of the song to name the genre, I would say it was a house song. I'm surprised this is considered a techno song. It feels very much like a disco track that's been made with samples and stuff, so I associate more with house than I would with techno. But you can see the elements that would become techno. The other big thing is that it kind of doesn't sound great. Like, there's a lot of technical issues with this song I can notice, about like how the piano is chopped up. It kind of chops off the transient of the chord sometimes. I don't know what key this is in, but just very strange note choices at times, really. But I feel like what Derek May was trying to do with this song does come through. The idea behind it is strong enough where the delivery doesn't even matter, and I think that it's a very important thing to remember. Sometimes things are flawed, but the underpinning of them shines through regardless and continues to be influential. Anyway, Detroit techno's fine. It's a little bit cheesy and dated, but there's some good tracks. Anyway, next day. It's the early 90s in the UK. Techno had begun to evolve and malform over in the Isles. It got faster and louder and more brash, and DJs started to use chopped up drum samples as opposed to electronic drums. This breakbeat hardcore techno synchronized with ragamuffin and dub and reggae music to become jungle. This is a genre I was already familiar with, so I didn't have any shocking revelations listening to it. However, it did eventually lead me to a shocking revelation. It's the mono arc, everyone. So when I exported the track that you just heard, I noticed that the drums were phasing weirdly. I figured out that it was this plugin that was kind of causing it, so I turned the plugin off, and then I went about my day. Later on in the week, I realized that the actual problem was that all of my tracks were exporting to mono. I'd somehow switched that on my DAW, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll have to re-edit all the videos. But then I realized all the videos I was exporting were also in mono, despite the audio I was dragging in being in stereo, which is when I realized that mono is the default for Davinci Resolve. You see that little 1 there? That is single channel audio. You need to turn on the 2. It's very silly. You'd think that if you drag in a stereo sound, it would be in stereo. It's not how Davinci Resolve works. So yes, sadly, all of the music that I've uploaded to this channel has been in mono. This will change going forward. Anyway, yeah, Jungle's good. Listen to it. Next day now. And now it's time for the worst named music genre ever, probably. It's intelligent dance music. Yeah, IDM, to differentiate it from the stupid dumb EDM. Yeah, I don't. It was kind of a marketing thing, from what I understand. There was like a magazine that had like a list up being like, this is the intelligent dance music. In reality, most of these artists kind of fall under the label of being down tempo or ambient techno, drill and bass, yada yada. And even more to the point, a lot of the contemporary artists who use this label essentially just mean sounds like Aphex Twin, which is fine. It is wonderful to sound like Aphex Twin. I like Aphex Twin, but I don't know, this label is very pretentious. I know, IDM is pretty good. Don't have much to say about it. Bleh. Alright, so today, dubstep. The development of dubstep is wild. It is a very strange story. So let's begin by breaking down the name, right? Dub from reggae dub and step from two-step, as in two-step garage. And when you listen to early dubstep, this is really apparent. You know, you hear the kind of two-step drums, and then a bass line that's similar to something you would hear in a reggae song. A lot of the time there is like a raga vocal track over it. But what became more important than these influences was the program that these producers were using to make this music, something called Massive. It was a way of making really complex FM synthesized bass lines comparatively easier than it had been previously. And you were able to get these kind of squelchy, interesting sounds out of a bass line, and they just kind of, they kept pushing it, and they kept pushing it until this sound kind of grew over the whole genre like some kind of cancer, and the both the step and the dub part of the name became vestigial. Like, a lot of purists argue that this stuff, the Skrillex kind of stuff, doesn't even count as dubstep because it has nothing to do with reggae dub or two-step garage. It's just all about this massive bass sound. As much as I can't say I love Skrillex and his ilk, I have to respect the way that they utilized new technology to create a sound that no one really had up to that point. Like dubstep, or some people would call it like future bass, UK bass, is wildly different from the electronic music that preceded it. It's a true innovation, even if I find it kind of aesthetically repulsive. Anyway, the track I made is quite interesting to talk about. So a lot of this came from a great music production channel called Hollow Ground Productions. You should watch his series about Burial. It encouraged me to really go deep into the sound design of drums, like using like notch filters. I've never used a notch filter before, but now I have. I use it in the hi-hats to really turn these kind of more organic sounds into something very unnatural and hollow and digital, but also reintroducing warmth with like a reverb and distortion. It's a process I haven't really used a lot before because I'm not much of an electronic music producer. And I think it turned out well. Thank you, Mr. Hollowed Ground Productions, for your guidance. Okay, so the discussion so far has been very UK-centric. I want to move away from that and go over to Germany and explore the trance music. This genre came out of Berlin in the 90s, primarily influenced by techno, like a lot of these genres, but also EBM, electric body music, an industrial subgenre. It's known for being very melodic, distinctly melodic compared to other genres, and has very long builds, typically outlined by like a long snare roll. So essentially really hard to remake in 10 seconds. This is the transition that I struggled with the most to try and capture the kind of sound here with not having a lot of space. This is a genre that requires space. Look, I'm not going to deny that trance is a distinctly cheesy genre. In the oeuvre of 90s EDM, it really stands out for its corniness.
Scat man, fat man, black and white and brown man, tell me about the color of your soul.
But it is also extremely fun, and I can see why it's popular. If you're going to take anything away from this video, please go listen to Robert Miles' Children. It's wonderful. So on to the newest genre, I will be exploring deconstructed club. This comes from the late 2000s, starting in New York, combining elements of club music, Jersey club music, footwork with experimental, industrial textures and ethos. It's more of an idea than a formalized genre, like there's a lot of diversity, and it's really cool. Don't have much more to say about that. This is probably the most interesting genre to me personally out of the ones that I explored in this series. So I'm gonna come clean with this one. This was originally supposed to be UK based because there was 2 pretty big UK based releases this year. However, I realized I essentially did a UK based track for the dubstep video. Silly me, you know. I thought they were more separate genres than they actually are, so I instead decided to go for deconstructed club. It was a bit of a last minute decision, and as a result I didn't listen to as much of it as I think I should have. I feel like the transition, I saved it in the end, but it was kind of going into my own direction rather than into a real pastiche of this genre. Alright, final day, and we're doing house music, finally. It took me a while to get around to it, but yes, French house. It utilizes some disco samples, puts some drums over that, and that's really it. It's very reliant on its samples. There's a lot of great music here. I listened to Justice's Cross for this video, and I loved it. Wonderful, wonderful record. But really, what I have to talk about is this song, Magic Carpet. Please, someone like sample this and make a track out of it. I could. I started to, but it's like there's this big, like, incredible synth solo in it. There's a lot of wonderfully corny lyrics. It'll be great for a French house song. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I'll just let one of you do that. And that was my week. Honestly, it was pretty difficult. I was really struggling to not listen to the music I wanted to most of the time. But I also discovered a lot of things I liked, and I think greatly improved as a producer for it, trying to make pastiches of all these styles. I learned a lot, and isn't that the most important thing? I don't know. Bye.